I'm just going to press record for those people who can't be here. I am Rachel. Can everyone hear me?
Yeah.
All right, cool. I'm Rachel Manzoyan, and I work at North Point with the referrals team, and we were trying to brainstorm ways to connect with each other. And this is one of our ideas. So if this is a total bomb, then we'll restart and try something different. But why don't we just take a few minutes, since there are about, it looks like there's 16 of us on the call. I guess we could just real quick, say who we are and where we work, like area of town, just real quick, and then we'll sort of dive into our topic. So, Lindy, is that Lindy? No.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Do you want to start?
Here, I'll start. Legal name is Belinda, but
Yeah.
I gain weight anytime somebody says my legal name. I go by Lindy. I'm actually telehealth right now in Dahlonega, Georgia, in my camper.
Wow.
I'm not looking real professional today, but this is the beauty of telehealth. But usually I'm practicing in Town Lake, and I've got a practice with 9 other mental health professionals with a variety of children, young adults, marriage, and family therapists.
Awesome. And let's just do kind of popcorn. Someone just jump on, unmute yourself and go. And after you're done, mute yourself again.
Hey there, I'm Rick Van Heveren. I will jump in here. I'm a licensed psychologist, and I'm just down the street from North Point on Old Milton and North Point. And at this point, I'm just online as well, and found it to be interesting and kind of a good experience to have. Was doing a little bit beforehand and doing much more now.
Great. Who wants to go?
I'm Doyle Hamilton, and I'm in Roswell, and I've been here in Roswell since '96, and I'm a pastoral counselor, and I'm licensed as a marriage and family therapist. Thank y'all for hosting us.
Yeah.
I'll jump on. I'm Kathleen Shack, and I'm off of Old Milton, right across from North Point Church. And I'm a couples counselor and a divorce mediator. And I also do discernment counseling. So I'm right there in Alpharetta, across from North Point.
Great.
I'll go. I'm Courtney Danner. I'm a social worker with the Building Families program. We work with families in their home typically, but we're doing telehealth right now.
Awesome.
I'm Amy Barrett, and I'm an LPC, and I work in Peachtree Corners in a private practice. I'm in a suite with 2 other therapists, and I'm all virtual right now.
Great. Anyone? Hey.
I'm Sade. I am in Suwanee, Georgia. I work with couples and sex therapy. I'm doing both virtual and in person right now.
Great. Awesome.
Hi, I'm Sarah Collins. I'm an APC, and I'm working only remotely right now, virtually, but typically practice in the Buckhead area. I'm with a practice called Cultivate Counseling. We see primarily adult women, and I used to work prior to shifting to counseling in the field of chaplaincy and end-of-life care. So I see a lot of spiritual concerns, grief and loss under that umbrella of working primarily with adult women.
Awesome.
My name is Max Merritt, and I work for Summit Counseling Center in Johns Creek. I also a school-based therapist with them. I work with children and adolescents at River Trail Middle School and Northview High School as part of the Summit On Site program. I have been since COVID, since they lifted restrictions, I've been about 50-50. I've been, seeing people in the office that are fine with that, as well as doing telehealth. So, but I also not just work with kids, I've worked with a little bit of everything. So couples, elderly, change of life, a little addictions counseling, done a little bit of everything. I'm an APC, got about a year, moved here about a year ago to work for Summit. I come from Alabama. So Rachel, I think this is the first time I've actually seen you face to face. We talked on the phone about 2 years ago. So
I was just about to say, I'm so excited to finally see you.
yeah. So officially, nice to meet you.
Yeah, you too. Anyone else? Anyone who's late coming on? We're just doing a quick intro.
Yeah, I'm Boyd Whaley. I don't know, did I just talk over somebody?
Okay, you're good.
I'm Boyd Whaley. I'm at North Georgia Family Counseling Centers. I'm a marriage and family therapist, and I'm working virtually and for the first time ever. So trying to learn how to do that since March, and interested to hear what other people are doing with that.
Yeah.
I'm Callie North. I'm a social worker. I work in Roswell at Wellview Counseling. We're on the corner of Crabapple and Crossville, behind QT, if y'all are familiar with that area. I see mostly teens and young adults, and we're doing virtual and in person right now, just based on what the client needs.
Great. Anyone we haven't heard from?
Hi, everyone. I'm Melissa Coates. I am with Coates Counseling, my practice, and I'm in 2 locations, one in Buckhead, Brookhaven, and also Alpharetta, but doing all virtual sessions for now, and it's been working out pretty well so far. I do miss my office, especially my nice big comfy office chair, but I'm sure we can, some of us can identify with that, but so far it's been doing okay, and I hired an associate this year as well to come on. So she's been building her practice in a pandemic, and it's been an interesting challenge, but it's been going well so far. So glad to be here and to see everyone. Thanks.
Great.
Hey everybody, I'm Heather Love, and I'm in Alpharetta, and I work mostly with teenagers 13 and up and young adults, anxiety, depression, school issues. I've been doing virtual counseling for a few years actually, because I do some contract work with some school counseling with virtual schools. So actually doing online counseling isn't new to me, just doing it at the volume at which I'm doing it is new. But I would say I'm probably about 40% in office, 60% virtual. I have a pretty big office, so I'm comfortable with that. I have a lot of rules in place that I didn't have before. There are 3 therapists in our suite, so I require masks until you get to my office. You text me when you get here from the parking lot. We're not using our waiting room. It's working pretty well, and I think for me, for my own sanity, what I've done is I come into my office even for virtual sessions just because I was getting really sick of being at home. But now I kind of break it up, especially on days when I'm the only person in the office and it's just me and my computer. So I might come into the office for some of the day and go to the home office for the other day. But the exciting news is I'm getting a puppy in 5 weeks who I'm training to be a therapy dog, and so she's going to be in my office with me. So yeah,
that's really cool.
Can I be your first client?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's going to be great. It's going to be really fun.
Awesome. Well, Heather, you kind of kicked us off. Does anyone else want to talk a little bit about what safety precautions you've put in place? Whether it's if you're seeing people in the office, or now that we have this new way of seeing people, not new, but new to a lot of us, seeing people online, what precautions are you putting into place just to make sure confidentiality is being kept and making sure that people feel comfortable online? Does anyone want to go ahead and just share a little bit about what you've learned and what percentage you're seeing and what safety measures you're putting into place?
Hi, I'm Dr. Quincy Warner. You cannot see me because I have yet to pick my XSplit background, apparently, and my virtual background. And so I apologize for that. I'm a clinical psychologist. My practice is in Duluth, Georgia, and I am 100% video conferencing right now with all of my clients. And one of the things that I've done is to make sure that we have HIPAA compliant, as I'm sure everybody else is, video conferencing platforms, and that everybody signed a telemental health agreement that in terms of going over confidentiality and the practicalities of that. And in addition, I'm just trying to, even though it doesn't look like it right now, I'm trying to learn a lot about video conferencing. And one of the things I've done is I've played around. My particular platform is DoxyMe. I don't know if anybody else is using that or not, but it doesn't come with a virtual background. So I have been using XSplit sometimes when I'm traveling, things like that, to create that consistency for my clients. And I'm not quite sure. I've never had it not work over with Zoom, but maybe it's because Zoom offers their backgrounds. I'm not quite sure. But anyway, those are some of the things I'm doing. It's good to be in the meeting.
Great. Anyone else?
I was going to say, I'm using Simple Practices platform for doing HIPAA compliant sessions. And then I am now seeing a few of my couples in the office. So everybody at North Point Psychology and all the other people that are in my office, we have about 11 of us. We put together a waiver form for people to sign that Howard Gold had also put together. So we've added some language to that. And then we also have them sign a letter when they come in saying, you know, these are the prerequisites that they have done, that they haven't been in high risk situations, and that they're going to wear their mask, and that they contact us when they get to the parking lot, and then we walk them straight through instead of having people in the waiting room. And then we also give them a letter that says all of the things that we're doing to take precautions and keeping things sanitary and sterile and things like that in the office as well. So I've got both situations going on, but I think having the clients take some responsibility and sign some things is giving us some peace of mind when they come in.
Great. And how many of your clients are coming in right now, would you say?
For me, I only have 3 couples that are coming in person. Everybody else is still choosing to do telehealth.
Okay, great.
I've got a kind of a 50-50 situation at our office, and I've asked all of my associates to not only sign in, but take their temperature so that my therapists are in the clear, that they don't have a fever as they're providing services. And I also posted on our doors as they enter the new Georgia, you know, the Georgia statement that said, enter at your own risk. This practice can't be held liable if you happen to catch COVID within its premises. So I have that posted. I saw it at my dentist's office. And I went to the dentist and I said, what is this from? And he told me where it was from. And I said, I'm going to laminate a couple of those. And so I have those on the enter at your own risk that states the Georgia laws on that now, so that we can't be held liable or be sued if they catch COVID from us. So those are a couple of things I'm doing. And I just took an extra training on 1013 and how that is incorporated for suicide risk clients of ours when we're doing telehealth. Can we even do a 1013 if we're not on the premise with them and we're doing an online service with them? Trying to keep up to date on this is exhausting and very expensive for hand sanitizer in the office, but
Lindsay? Okay. All right, well, everyone, just as a reminder, put your mute on unless you're talking, just so that we're not hearing.
Well, I couldn't get on before, so give me a moment, please.
Sure. Anyone else want to just talk about what's working and what's not working with you for safety precautions and how many clients you're seeing percentage-wise?
Hey,
I'm just seeing,
I'm sorry.
I'll be real brief. I just see clients 100% online. So with security, that became an issue. So I'm using eFax and had to upgrade to a more secure platform there. And for email, I use Hushmail. and there too they have an encrypted system. So both of those came with a little extra cost, but provide some better security for exchanging documents.
Great.
Hi, I had missed the beginning because, hi, how are you?
Hi.
Because I was trying to get on another link, I think. So what was the question exactly?
Yeah, well, you can go ahead and introduce yourself and then just tell us what percentage of clients you're seeing online and what safety precautions you've put in place.
Oh, hi, Cheryl.
Hi.
Okay. Okay. You want me to go ahead?
Yeah,
Okay.
you can
Okay. All right. So yes, I'm Kirsten Banks, and I'm a therapist and interventionist. And so interventions definitely have a whole another level of this going on. But for my private practice or my therapy practice, when all this happened, I quickly just shifted to virtual, and I've been using iTherapy Video, which is a Zoom platform, but you can get it for just the video portion, which is $79 a month. You can get a deal on it for the first 3 months too, which was only like $39 a month. And so you kind of get the best of both worlds, the Zoom platform that people, that works well, with the price not being crazy. So that has worked. And then I went completely from paper files to Simple Practice electronic health records. I just completely converted from paper to electronic at that point, which seems to be working. And I haven't shifted back to seeing anyone in person yet, because what's kind of been interesting is that what I have seen is that the clients that I work with, okay, I think the host muted me.
No, you're good. You're good now. Sorry.
Okay. So what I have been seeing with my clients and the families I work with is I have been seeing them have better outcomes with their symptoms, and I've been able to refer more people to treatment. I've been able to work with family members that would never come in. I've been able to do more couples work because, the convenience factor. And so I'm starting to think about how to do some clients in person, like, kind of a hybrid, but it's actually been a really more positive experience than a lot of the clients expected. And when I go in person, I'll do all of the different protocols, talk to the people what they're comfortable with, and like do the different protocols, but I haven't been doing any in person since this started. So, and it kind of like, I probably would now or would have, but like, again, the clients have been really mostly wanting to stay like this for now because it's been working for them. So
Great. And if you guys want to put anything in the chat feature, like anything you talk about information, you can chat it in there of like certain platforms, or if people have certain questions, they can put it in the chat feature. People are already putting in there. Somebody asked if anyone's used sessions through Psychology Today.
I would definitely like to hear about that too. For those of us who are using that as a marketing technique, I got the notice that as a free option, they were going to now move to that. And the Doxy.me platform does not work very well for me in terms of trying to have people on different devices for couples work. They have to kind of sit together and be seen on one camera. So I would be interested in finding out if anybody else has tried that Psychology Today platform yet.
Sounds like maybe nobody's tried it.
I tried it. Yeah, just got a email from them out of the blue and tried a couple sessions last week. I usually use Doxy but tried some with sessions, and I thought it was about the same. I don't do couples or multiples, so I'm not sure if it has more features or if they'll upgrade over time, but I thought it was pretty on par with Doxy.
Okay.
This is Brent. I'm not sure if I'm muted, but I utilize Google Meet, which is technically, if you have the paid version of G Suite, Google Meet is HIPAA compliant 100%. And you can have up to 100 participants, something like that. So I had to use it for a couple that were in different places. One was in Florida, one was in Georgia, and it worked fantastic. So I'm switching over to use that exclusively.
Good to know.
Can I ask a question about that? Do they have to use a Google email to use the Google?
Not technically, no. I think it allows you to join a meeting without being logged in, but you can't like start a meeting without that. But I'm pretty sure you can join with it. And you can also, there's an app so they can join on a phone as well.
Yeah, I use that too, because we have our email with them we have the G Suite email as well. So I've used that too, and it works really well too. And it's not expensive at all.
Okay.
Yeah, per user, I think it's like $6 a month.
Yeah, I think so. Sometimes when you add things on, like if you want the voice, it's $12 a month, but yeah.
Okay. So it sounds like, we were all kind of thrown into this world in March of trying to figure out how to meet with clients online. So how did you figure that out? What kind of training have you had? What have you learned along the way that you're doing differently now than maybe you did in the beginning? What's going well? What's still a challenge? So let's kind of hear how it's going and what you've learned along the way.
Hi, I can speak. My name is Keisha. Hi, everyone. We have, and I'm a part of Attentive Counseling and Coming, and we have been providing counseling the entire time. The beauty is that we had telemental health as an option before COVID hit. So something that our clients weren't completely, blindsided. They kind of knew it was an option if they needed it. But we have all of our clinicians take telehealth trainings and ethics courses. So the Knowledge Tree has some good ones, and PASI had some as well. So they gave us a lot of good ideas when it comes to like using VC.com or Google Meets with the G Suite. So I've heard that we've done that, like Brent mentioned before. And also what I've learned is that when we're providing that service, kind of giving people time to make sure their space is available. I've noticed a barrier has been some of my parents who say, hey, I have this time available, but then they have kids coming in and out of their room that is their office. So before ending a session, I'll plan like, okay, so you're gonna have this hour available. Where are you going to be when you meet? I've had moms go and get in their car, go drive to a parking lot so their kid can't come outside, knock on the window and say, hey, mom, I need something. So one thing that I thought was really good was really helping the clients take responsibility for their space and being non-distracted. Because before, the whole purpose of, coming into an office is that it's quiet and the whole focus is their counseling session. So that was one thing, helping them get more engaged in making sure they control their environment. But also I find that when I'm doing counseling in this way, there's a lot more, it requires that I be more directive, like as a clinician. And normally there would be times where body language or nodding or things that you don't literally have to say can urge a person to move on or go and tell you more and get deeper. But instead I have to specifically say like, okay, so I'm noticing you raised your eyebrow with that. Can you tell me a little bit more? You seem surprised. Like, it's just, I have to externally process them a little bit more. I don't know if y'all have noticed that for yourselves. And then the other thing is, I guess with sharing content, because sometimes I like to reference things, and I'm a drawer. I have a whiteboard that I work with, and sometimes I'm a visual learner. So what I have found is that I'll find like PDFs of what I like, and then I'll send it to them, say, hey, put this on your desktop, we're going to reference it later. And so being proactive in that way. So it's made me plan better, because normally I just grab my whiteboard and draw it. I'm not that talented to do like 3 things at once with the computer, with the whiteboard. I'll be off camera trying to show them something. So I've learned that that's helped, being more prepared as well for me. But that was been my experience thus far.
Super helpful. Thank you for sharing all that.
Of course.
Anyone else?
Yeah, this is Courtney Danner. I have to second what you said, Keisha, because it's almost like, you know, as a therapist, you have all your senses when you're in a home. I'm in a home normally. That's where I do my work. So over a screen, it's exhausting because you're just trying to figure out everything. You're trying to, all you see is this box, you know, and you know, I have a teenager I work with. It looked like there may have been some cuts on his wrist, but it's like I couldn't tell. He was raising his hand, and then I was trying to look before I questioned that. And it's just, I find that I'm sharing my screen a lot because I'm visual too, like that. I like to be visual. And so I'll share my screen. We use Microsoft Teams, and I'll share videos, and we'll watch videos together. And I have a whiteboard back here that I'll even write on and, you know, try to show them. But I find that it's really, I thought I was tired when I went in the home and did these sessions. And now I'm like, I didn't expect this. This has kind of thrown me for a loop.
Being on the computer all day is exhausting.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. Thank you for sharing. Anyone else?
I've found with doing mediation online, I've really been liking that as a platform because I use Zoom for my mediations, even though I use Simple Practice for my therapy sessions, because with Zoom, you can do breakout rooms. So you can have clients in caucus having their own private meetings with me, but we're all still sitting on the same platform. So clients have really liked that. I've really liked using that. The attorneys have found it to be really simple and to be effective and useful. So that way we can all still say our distance from each other, and especially with domestic violence situations, it's come in very handy because people can be in completely different locations and can still have their mediation and can be on there as long as they need to be. So I found it really useful.
Great.
I work with a lot of teens and children, so this switch was really interesting for me, especially with impulse control concerns. I was a little apprehensive actually to switch to virtual, but what I have found is I've adjusted some of the session times and the frequency. So for example, instead of the individuals coming once a week for 50 minutes, I meet with them virtually for 25 minutes twice a week. And that's been working really well with the impulse control challenges. I also have some of the kids, depending on what coping skills we're working with and addressing, I have them actually gather those things at home, at their house, to see what they have that they could utilize. So for emotion regulation, I'll ask them, look around your room. What do you have in your room right now that could help with this skill? And it's actually been tremendously helpful because then they're actually in their home environment, exploring these interventions instead of being at the office where I provide the interventions, and then they may have to go home and maybe forget about it at that point or what have you. And that has also been helpful in meeting with parents as well, is again, they kind of are required to come up with that in the home environment. So that's been really, really helpful.
Keisha kind of touched on this a little bit about like the safe place for parents, but with kids, are you feeling this tension that like parents might be like hanging out and listening to their kid while they're on a session? Like, have you struggled at all with that, or is anyone else?
Well, what I did personally is before I did the initial session, when we first, went all virtual, I had it in a printed document, all of the protocols and steps that I required everybody to follow, parents specifically, as far as making sure that their child was already set up on the computer prior to the start time, making sure that there is a loud fan outside the door to the room, making sure that the child had headphones if sensory-wise it was appropriate, that it wasn't too disruptive. And then when we would enter into the session, the parent would be there and then they would make sure everything was set up. Then I would require them to leave. And then I would actually talk with the child or the teen and say, what is your comfort level right now with confidentiality? Is there anything that is disruptive right now? Do you feel as comfortable as you would in the office? And if they said yes, we would proceed. If they said no, I would say, what changes need to be made right now in order to increase your comfort level? And then they would do whatever was needed. And then the understanding was, if at any point while we were meeting, if they felt like somebody was listening outside the door, or if there was any point of distraction, that they had permission already to pause the session and go and fix whatever needed to be done. And I actually had some kids at some point that would say, oh, I think my mom might be listening. Because of the content of what we were talking about, they were a little concerned. So they would poke their head out the door, they'd call down the hallway, whatever they needed to do to establish that safety. And that's been working well.
I love that. That's awesome. Does anyone else want to share a little bit about your experience?
Well, this is Brent. I work with children as well. I'm a play therapist. And so really doing play therapy remotely just wasn't an option. So I've actually been seeing children in person since mid-July. So I do a number of safety protocols. My office has 2 large windows in the back that, just in the room that's close to where we sit. And I have a box fan that runs the entire time to just kind of dilute the air and get more outside air in. I also have like face shields that I've got one that I wear and then one that I require children to wear, but it's often it's better than a mask because it's, in the sense of that I can hear them better. There are risks with that, but, and then I have very low traffic in the office. I'm the only practitioner here right now that's seeing people in person. So that's made such a huge difference for my child clients.
Great. Yeah, because those masks, you can't see their facial expressions. You realize how much you rely on that.
and particularly they can't see mine. That's being able to see my smile and see, my theoretical approach is very child-centered, and for them to feel my care for them is so, I don't know, it's just so much easier when people can see my whole face.
Yeah.
There are actually clear masks. I don't know if you've looked into them online, but I know some of our colleagues are using them.
Good to know. Anyone else want to share what they've learned along the way since March, kind of how you learned it and what's working well and what is still a challenge?
I thought I would just share, there's these really cool $30 light rings. My lighting's horrible right now, but I bought one for all of my associates because I feel like it's so important that if we're going to do telehealth, we can see my face real good and see my facial expressions. Because we can even see, just like on the example here, some people have different lighting and it's really great for some, and then some people are so backed up and their expressions are kind of muted. So I have found that to be really, really helpful, in that, if we give good quality telehealth, I think they're more likely to stay engaged in therapy than if we're glitching and we're really dark and they can't see our eyes and our face. And I know for me, the reflection off the computer will hit my glasses. So sometimes I just have to remove my glasses so they can see my eyes and try to talk into the dot versus talking down at them. So I've just found, like, you just have to be really somewhat animated with the young kids so that they'll stay in the session with you, because the darn teenagers, you know, they got their cell phones right under the screen because they're texting away and they're disengaged. And there's nothing more awkward than the teen who's sitting on their bed, and it gets really awkward for all of us. So trying to just make it so that it's good lighting for my therapist, and then trying to set up the scene so it's appropriate therapy.
I have a question to touch on that, to piggyback on what you just said. Because, you know, part of, I think what we do is we teach kids boundaries, like appropriate boundaries, especially on the internet. And so when I see a child like in their bedroom, it makes me feel really uncomfortable. A parent's there usually, you know, like all the time, the parent's definitely there, but not necessarily in the room. And I'm struggling with that because it just makes me feel weird. It's kind of a boundary thing. Like when I work in the home, I will never go into a child's bedroom alone. Like if they want to show me something, a parent is always there. Because I feel like that they need to know, like, even though I'm a therapist, there's still appropriate boundaries you need to have.
Can I speak to that? Because I do a lot of work also with kids, everyone actually, and it reminds me of the fact that like this is not normal. Like all of COVID season is not normal. So where do you feel safest? Where are you working? Where are you doing your schoolwork? What I do is like, where do you focus best? And let's go there. And sometimes it's on the back porch. Sometimes I told you I have clients who meet with me in their car and like somewhere in a parking lot. But literally it's like, okay, where are you going to focus best? Where do you feel safe confidentiality wise? And sometimes that might be in their bedroom. And it's because this is not a natural setting and it was not ideal, but if we can do the best we can with what we have, that's kind of the way I'm looking at it. For those boundary issues, if that makes sense.
And sometimes what I've discovered is sometimes you have to go with where the internet is strongest in their home. And working with a lot of kids, a lot of kids just adapted really quick. A lot of the kids that I worked with, some were very excited. One ADHD, she has ADHD, very impulsive, very hyperactive, and she just decided to take me on a tour of her house. And it was actually giving me motion sickness. I actually had to be, you know, kind of what Keisha was saying, having to be more directive of like, hey, you're going to make me sick. You need to find a place. They kept cutting out because she's running through the house. And we ended up finding the best spot, and it, like, you know, where she was the most comfortable, and was her closet in her bedroom. That was where the best internet was. And so we would end up having sessions. And, you know, she had, you know, it was a big closet with a light on and everything. And she would, you know, and so a lot of kids, boys and girls alike, were very excited to show me things, you know, and particularly the young guys that I was working with were very tech savvy. They understand it. They're fine with it. They, you know, they liked the process of it. And actually some actually became much more verbal and shared much more openly in an online format than in person. Now, granted, after a while, after I'd say, you know, 6 weeks or 6 to 8 weeks, some kids started to check out a little bit. They were, you know, getting more distracted. I could tell just by the way their eyes were moving that, and you can sometimes hear them tapping on the keyboards. I'd have to call them on it and say, hey, what are you doing right now? Oh, sorry, just checking my email, you know, and they get all the, you know, get a little, you know, a little guilty about it. Like, that's okay. You know, this is not normal. I understand you got things that are popping up and all that kind of stuff. So I was glad that we could, for those kids that were beginning to check out, they might have liked it early on, but now they're beginning to get distracted by the things that are in their bedroom. I could bring them back into the office again. And our protocols are similar to what everybody else has described. I mean, you know, a waiver. I work in a church, you know, largely. I have our satellite office in a local church, and with their school closed down, I was practically the only person there. So it was a lot like being in private practice. So, but the church asked me to keep the front door locked, only let people in one at a time, which is no problem. Nobody sits in the waiting room except for that one parent. I wipe everything down after every session. Masks are optional, just whatever people are comfortable with. I'll wear one if they want me to. They don't. The office is large enough that we can maintain the social distance and that sort of thing. So hand sanitizer everywhere. With online, we had to go, we have to know where they are, their address, in case there's an issue. If we had to call 911 or the internet drops, I've had that happen a few times. The internet drops. I've continued over the phone. We have to, have like a safe word so that we know that they're in a good place. Ask them if they're in a private or public place, that sort of thing. Recognizing that if they're in public, we can't guarantee confidentiality and talking through that. There's probably a few things that I can't remember there's like so many different hurdles that we've had to jump through. In the office, our main office, that's where masks are required in and out in traffic, in the higher traffic areas while they're sitting in the waiting room. We'll let one or two people in, but we generally ask people to wait in their car until we text them to come in. Wear the mask through the hallways, and then if they want to keep it on in the office, they can. But that's kind of largely been my experience. I'm glad to be back in person. That's more my, you see more people are more comfortable. They seem a little more relaxed. Sometimes the best place of the internet is in a living room or a den or something along those lines. So I at least ask people to, have earphones in, something along those lines, so that, and I've had to actually get onto parents once or twice because they're the ones kind of running back and forth, getting in this, distracting the child, getting into the screen, that sort of thing. Checking on that sort of thing. So I've had to go like, hey, that's why I encourage them, like, if you have a bedroom and the internet's okay, that's a place that you're more comfortable. If the internet isn't there, grab some, and they don't like being in the office or wherever they happen to be, because a lot of kids are in their parents' private work offices, or home offices. Bring stuff with them so that they can have it with them, so they can be more comfortable. So that's just kind of some of the things that I've done and tried over the past 6 months.
Super helpful. I know Summit has a lot of things put in place, which is always great. Is there anyone that you guys are feeling like certain clients that are struggling with the online, that you feel like you're having a harder time with them? Maybe any clients with trauma, or any feedback on that?
I definitely have experienced that with the teenagers, just so distracted, and to what Keisha and Max were saying too, I want my clients to meet with me wherever they are comfortable, but I've had to really just be very direct with some of these teenagers. You're not going to lay in your bed and talk to me. That's just not appropriate. But I have had to transfer out one teenager. And actually, I'd be really curious to hear what if anybody's experienced something like this. But before COVID, we were really working on, COVID it's ideal for her because she never wants to leave her room, ever. She lacks social skills. She's depressed, so she does not care about her appearance whatsoever. So prior to COVID, we were actually getting somewhere with assignments to do social things, work on maintaining eye contact with me. So COVID was her dream. She never left her room, and she would literally, if she didn't like what I said, just turn around in her chair and put her back to the screen. And so it just wasn't ideal. I really kind of ran out of, I had no more tricks up my sleeve to help someone who did not want to leave her room. So that, and then also I have a kid who was just way too distracted. So I started virtual with him, and he's actually his dad is going to bring him in to the office this week, and we'll see how that works. But That's kind of been my experience.
Right. Yeah, it definitely doesn't work for everyone. Anyone else have had any difficulty or challenging situations being online?
I think it's this is missing for me. I work in a big office with 9 other therapists, and so the camaraderie of a rough session, and you walk out of your office and you just can vent a little bit, or you can just connect with other therapists that are maybe just having a really heavy day. I think for me, this right here has been missing. Because even in my peer consultation groups, it's really hard to collaborate and get everybody just to meet up, even if it's in an outdoor park. So, I mean, I think everybody's kind of struggling with this kind of disconnect.
Mm-hmm.
Not only our clients, but I think us as professionals, definitely.
So what are some ways is there anything that North Point Ministries can do as a whole to help you each as you're, in this new world of meeting online? Is there anything that you feel like we could do to better support you? Or do you see any needs with your clients that, overall general themes that you feel like you wish the church was doing something to address that? Do you guys have any feedback? Because our goal is really to help support you guys, because we know that lots of people need counseling right now.
I wonder if, speaking on what Lindy was just saying, you know how there's just the night of worship, how it was all outside and everything.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder if we could ever just like have a meeting on the lawn, or, if that would even make sense. Like a socially distanced, whatever, where we can just collaborate as therapists and kind of have that camaraderie during this difficult time.
Great idea.
Yeah, I agree with what everyone's saying. I mean, that's been really the only part that's been missing for me, is because I used to practice like very much collaborative. I mean, I'm still collaborating, but I used to practice so differently, that in the sense that I would tour. The big thing is I used to tour programs, and do tours of the programs. I would know the staff, which sometimes changes. I would go visit different programs. I would go to like a lot of events, I would travel a lot to see programs with colleagues that are friends of mine. So that's just completely different way of practicing, in the sense that I'm still collaborating, but I haven't like been to a program to tour it this whole time, Luckily, I'm seeing that there are some marketing events starting to happen, where they're doing the protocols, and it's an option to go to them. That just started kind of happening. So I agree with what everyone's saying. If there's a way that we could do that somehow where everyone felt comfortable, that would be a big missing piece, I think.
Absolutely.
Hi, everyone. Oh, sorry.
It's Trisha.
Trisha. I was just thinking about just this time. I know, especially with doing the telemental health right now, sometimes you may be doing back-to-back sessions online. And I guess we're just wondering if this type of format might be something that might be beneficial like once a month, or if we could look at topics, things that we might want to discuss, or is this helpful? So we just want to do what's best for you guys and support you well. So anyway, I just thought I'd add my 2 cents.
Yeah, great.
That was a good point. Oh, sorry, Brent, go ahead.
Oh, it's okay. No, I'm like, I just need to dive in, right? Yeah, I mean, this is just a general point about, I don't attend North Point, I attend a different church, but I had a client recently for couples that said, oh, I feel like we failed coming to couples therapy. And it just reminded me still of the stigma. And I don't know how much therapy is talked about from the pulpit and normalized and encouraged as part of a way to cope with these stressful times. But, you know, I think we're all on a crusade to help minimize the stigma of mental health. So anyway, that's a way the church could help, but again, they may already be doing that.
Trisha, in response to what you were saying, I would love to have a way to connect. For me, it would be a little better if it was smaller, because as a counselor, I tend to then think I should just listen and I'm not going to say a lot. So if it was something where maybe there were topics or something like that, where it was like capped at a certain number, and I don't know, it could mix up month to month, but something where everyone who's a part of the group would have time to share, I would love that.
Great. Keisha, did you have something to say?
Well, I concur with what everyone is saying. I definitely see where it's been beneficial for some of our clinicians in our practice, where our practice has grown quite a bit. So what we do is we have smaller meetings that are topic focused. So we have meetings focused on racial injustice and how having a diverse group of clinicians, how that affects how you serve your clients that are in need. When it comes to racial trauma. And then we start talking about, we had a different group when it comes to supporting parents that are full-time, like kind of multitasking, the staying at home and working, and kind of how to speak to that as clinicians, how to support them where they are. So like a lot of our talks were focused on topic so that people could leave with like action items or a different perspective. And I found that at least the feedback we've gotten from our clinicians in our little pod was that was positive and helpful. And this specifically was helpful for me because even in our first talking, like I've gotten some ideas about different ways to do telemed, like using Google Hangout. Is it Google Hangouts or the G Suite? Like using that more instead of it as like a fail safe. Like if Doxy doesn't work, then I'll go to G Suite. But since G Suite is HIPAA compliant, why don't I try that first? So that was helpful for me. But yeah, that kind of stuff.
Well, we are, oh, Brett, did you have something else you wanted to say?
I was going to say Google Meet. Yeah, that's what it is.
Well, we so want to respect your time. I think Trisha and Kim and Blair is on here from Gwinnett. We as a team are just so thankful for you guys and all that you do. And we want to support you. So please don't hesitate to reach out to us if you need anything. If there's anyone in particular on here you want to connect with, go ahead and send them a private message. But we're so thankful for you guys, and we're thankful for your feedback. I think this was helpful. I know it was helpful for me. Hopefully it was helpful for you just to hear what other people are doing and what's working well and what the challenges are. So thanks guys for taking your time out today.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks. Bye, guys.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, bye.
Bye.
Bye for now. If I can get off here. Well, you know what? My biggest challenge has been technical. Right in the middle of the meeting, my internet went out. So, yeah. So I don't know if I'm going to be working today.
Oh,
yeah.